around sports. This is Grizzly Insider, sponsored by Albertson Safeway.
The old Battle of Brawl, whatever they call it, I know they call it an ass kick is what they call it.
And welcome to the Brawl of the Wild Winners Edition here on the Grizz Insider Coaches Show. And Riley, I don't know if we can really add much else.
You know, I don't think we can say those things that Coach Hauck can, but I would agree with everything he said in the interview with you.
Absolutely. Montana voice of the Grizz, Riley Corcoran, alongside myself, Kyle Hansen. What a game in Washington Grizzly Stadium for the 122nd Brawl of the Wild. The Montana Grizzlies get it done, and they are Big Sky champions.
It sounds pretty darn good here on this side of the state. And you look at it for Montana, Kyle, the build-up all week. You always wonder, can these games live up to the hype? There was no question this was the biggest ever between Montana and Montana State with what was at stake. And boy, it was a runaway. It's amazing to me that in this rivalry, the last 19 meetings, only 4 times has it been decided by 7 points or less. We've been talking about it a lot. Whoever has thrown the first punch,
yes,
the other team has not been able to get off the map, and that was the case on Saturday.
Absolutely. So, you know, especially these last 4 meetings, right? 2-2 between the two schools, and we saw it 2 years ago here in Missoula with the Bergen home run touchdown. And right out of the gates, 14-play drive, and that set the tone, I felt, for Montana.
It really did, and it put Montana State on their heels on both sides, because really, then they go 3 and out. And that defense had been on the field, like you said, 14, 15 plays, 6 minutes, had to go right back out there. Then the Grizz go down and score again. And at 14-0, you were down there on the sideline a little bit. You could see the mood. The emotions are so high, right?
Yep.
Every play can swing it in this game more than any other game. And I kind of felt there was a momentum shift there at 14-0. Dejected looks from the Bobcat sideline. You were the one down there to see it.
I would agree, yeah. And the guys are kind of, you know, a little sluggish, like kind of moving along. Like, to their credit, I believe it was the next drive, MSU had a couple of big plays, and they weren't quite able to get the field goal. So the offense was able to come out and kind of get a little mojo going for the Bobcats. But you're right, those guys came off and they were dejected. 14-0 down in the rivalry game with the crowd on top of them like that. It was tough, and it showed, especially because they had 2 drives in that first half that they could have resulted in points and didn't. And to me, that said it all, especially in that wild sequence at the end of the second quarter.
Wild sequence. I've never seen anything like that. And it was really, you can call it a 6-point swing back and forth. The Cats can somehow get down there and get 3. It's a 2-score game. They get the ball first to start the third quarter. Much different feel than, let's call it what it was. It was a debacle on Montana State's side of things. Terrible clock management to get sacked. Then the roughing the kicker gives Montana 2 chances at it. I felt that mini swing, 20-0 at the break, it was going to be tough for the Cats to do anything in the second.
And that's usually a sequence we say for night games. So it's weird sitting in the afternoon. But
good point.
It was wild. But second half, you know, the Bobcats come out and they score and they came out ready to play. And then obviously Montana responds, which to me was the biggest part of it all. Respond after they scored, and then from there it wasn't in doubt.
And how was it set up? A Junior Bergen kick return, right? It was. We didn't see many returns in that game. Dynamic returners with Taco Dowler, Junior Bergen, couple Billings boys, Marquis Johnson, really good kick returner for Montana State. That was all neutralized outside of that one return, and I'm right there with you. 20-7, okay, because Montana State went down the field and scored. 2 minutes, you're thinking, okay, this is why they're the top offense in the country. Grizz get the response. Not again, that took the life out of it, and it turned into a really fun celebration inside Washington Grizzly Stadium from there.
It did, and obviously the nail in the coffin, Trevin Gradney, you know, got to give credit to that kid, right? Missing a couple games with injuries, hasn't had a pick since NEU, comes up with a diving interception. A couple plays later, Nick Osmo, the senior, takes it to the house, and then from there the party was on in Missoula.
I tell you what, Kyle, we love to tell stories. We're storytellers in what we do in our jobs, and I tell you what, that there were so many really cool individual stories and moments from that game, and I echo exactly what you said. Trevin Gradney has been dinged up the last couple of weeks. You know, a kid that has worked so hard. He was on the show earlier in the year to be in this spot and to get an interception in that game. That was the first interception Tommy Mellott had thrown in 223 pass attempts, regular season back against Weber in 2022. And then Nick Osmo, I mean, the guy to just have the exclamation point on it all, fitting that the offensive line, as you mentioned, opened up the holes. Poetry in motion for the Montana Grizzlies.
Poetry in motion, indeed. And we've got a great show coming your way. Riley will catch up with head coach Bobby Hauck for the next segment. We also have senior linebacker Braxton Hill. We'll see you on the other side of the break coming up.
There's more coverage of the Grizzlies online anytime at montanasports.com. Welcome back to Grizzly Insider, sponsored by Albertson Safeway.
And welcome back to the Grizz Insider. A happy weekend indeed here in Missoula, joined by head coach Bobby Hauck. I don't think the smiles left your face for good reason, Coach. That sure was a lot of fun inside the Mecca of FCS football Saturday.
It sure was fun, Riley. And in Grizzly football, being a Montana Grizzly, I don't think it gets a whole lot better than it was yesterday. So that was fun. Everybody had a blast. What a great performance by our team.
No doubt. In all three phases, it was just complete dominance. At what point in the game did you feel like you guys were imposing your will? Because it was 20-0 at the break. You guys get them early. I think the 6-minute drive, they have a 3-and-out. You get the ball back. It just felt like they were on their heels the majority of this game. Coach, when did you feel that point?
Well, when we went down the field in the opening drive, that was good. It's always fun or more reassuring to be in front rather than having to come from behind. But, getting the first 2 touchdowns felt like we were in control, and then we never really relinquished that.
They came into the game trailing just 44 minutes the entire season. They trailed for 54 minutes in the game on Saturday. Coach, when you look at it from a defensive side of things, the heavyweight matchup was the #1 offense in the country coming in here against the #1 defense, and you guys absolutely stonewalled them throughout, held them under their season average and everything. Talk about the defensive effort, the game plan, execution, all of it combined into one.
Well, it was 2 good teams going into that game and going at it. Obviously, we got the best of them. They really know how to run the football. They're good at it. They're the best we've played this year in that regard. Our defense held up their end of the bargain. I wouldn't call it our best defensive effort because we gave up a few more plays than we normally do. But that's some of that's the opponent. They know what they're doing. And, the defense rallied the occasion, and giving up 7 in first half shutout, that was a great performance by our defense.
It was. And then on the offensive side of the ball, here we go again with balance. Over 200 rushing, over 200 passing. You told us in the post game that it was the best game your quarterback had played in Clifton McDowell, the battle of whatever they wanted to call it, and Clifton was ready to go, but your entire offense was great, and especially with Nick Osmo a touchdown, Gilman a touchdown. What did you like on that side of the ball, obviously led by your quarterback?
Well, Cliff did play his best game, I believe. Brent Pease has done a great job bringing him along. He did a great job. The offense was awesome. We hit him with a bunch of different things. I thought it was a terrific game plan by our offensive coaches and well executed by our guys. And putting 37 on the board was great.
Yeah, I thought that was very fitting, too, that 37 turned out.
Yeah, that worked out nice.
Yeah, it was nice. Hey, way to dial that one up, Coach. Appreciate that. When you look at it from a big picture side of things, Coach, I mean, the Big Sky Conference champions now. The first time since 2009, and this program prides themselves on being on top of the conference and just feels that all is right in the world when that's the case. Just the significance in your program, not only beating your rival in that fashion, but to get the outright Big Sky championship.
Well, the last 4 years we've won 10 games, 9 games, and now 10 games again this year, and we just haven't been able to hoist that trophy. So it's great to have it. We want to keep it here as best we can, and we're going to enjoy having it. As you should, Coach. How about the atmosphere from your perspective? I was going to say we're going to enjoy having it if we find it. It's probably down at some fraternity or something. Yeah, we're going to have a lost and found here. If you see the Big Sky Conference trophy, we need it. Return it to Grizzly football offices. Coach, your thoughts on the atmosphere? I mean, the state of Montana always shows out for this game, and Grizzly Nation was on point, a new stadium record. But what was the atmosphere like? I know you're locked into the game, but what was it like when you had a second or two to reflect on it? Well, I thought it was cool for the 3rd time this season. We set a stadium record, largest crowd, and I think appropriate in this game. But it was a great day in the stadium. It was a lot of fun. I really didn't get a chance to enjoy it. It's just not that enjoyable of a game. But with about 5 minutes left in the 4th quarter, I was able to pull the headphones off and kind of take it in. It was great. Certainly nice. Don't get to do that very much. You don't, and it was nice to get a lot of players in the game, too, in the 4th quarter, in the rivalry matchup like that. And you told us this in postgame. It's nice that you get to enjoy this one for a little bit. You guys have certainly earned the bye, but I've got to get your take just on the playoff field. We just heard it. It was announced earlier on Sunday, and you are the number 2 seed, home field throughout the playoffs, and you'll get the winner of Lafayette and Delaware in your first game. Just your early take on when you saw the bracket. I know it's still fresh to marinate a little bit, but your thoughts on the draw, the bracket, everything in between. Yeah, we're excited, obviously, to be the number 2 seed in the deal and be able to be at home as long as we can win. That's probably number 1, the biggest takeaway. And obviously in our radio show, you and I'll have a chance to really dig into this. But the Delaware-Lafayette matchup, and we're going to get a really good football team in here in a week. I don't know which one it'll be, but they're good. I've seen a little bit of both of them. Well, when you look at it, too, a lot of 7-4 teams. This is a big-time matchup. 9 wins for Lafayette, 8 wins for Delaware. Coach, we'll get to all that next week. Enjoy the win. Congratulations on it. All right, man. Go Grizz. All right. We will continue on with the Grizzly Insider with Braxton Hill and Kyle Hansen next.
Get social with Grizzly fans and follow MTN Sports on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Welcome Welcome back to Grizzly Insider, sponsored by Albertson Safeway.
Welcome back to the Grizz Insider, and the Brawl of the Wild Winners Edition rolls on, and we're excited to be joined by senior linebacker Braxton Hill. Braxton, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right, tell us what it's like. You guys are champions, or Big Sky champions. You beat the Bobcats. Just what's going through your mind right now?
Oh, I mean, a lot's going through my mind. It feels awesome. I can't even describe it. This past day, it's just been a blur, and it's been a whole lot of fun, and I'm just so excited for our team and this university, and I mean, yeah, it's been great.
I feel like a win in this game, it's so much about relief too, right? Because there's build-up from not just the season, but especially the week of. You guys get all the outside noise and things like that, and you guys do a nice job of blocking that out. But when you win that game, is it a lot of relief as well as jubilation?
Oh, yeah, it's a ton of relief. I mean, you try to treat every week as the same, but for some reason, I mean, I know the reason, but that week's just different,
right.
You know? And like you said, there's so much goes into it. There's so much hype around it. And I mean, I couldn't even hardly sleep the last 2 nights before the game. So now that the game's over and we came out victorious, I'm definitely a little bit relieved.
Absolutely, yeah. No, what a great win for you guys. And so walk us through the game a little bit. It's interesting. The offense gets it started rolling with that 14-play drive to get you guys on the board first, and then defensively, you guys were locked in, ready to go against their offensive attack. Just walk us through that first half. How were you guys able to kind of stymie that run game of Montana State?
Yeah, you know, we talked all week about not getting too high or not getting too low on our emotions, you know. We knew that it would be electric in there early, so we needed to just focus on our job, our 111th. And, you know, offense, they drove right down the field. They put 7 up. That definitely helped. And then the crowd's into it, and it was just about doing our job. And I think everyone did that defensively, and we had a great game plan, and we were able to shut them out in the first half. And offense was putting up points, and everyone on the defense, I mean, it's kind of on us at that point. That's our mindset. Whenever the offense scores, it's on us, because if they don't score, they don't win. So that was what was going through our minds.
Right. Well, could you tell kind of early on that you guys were having some advantages, like physically or things like that? Because it seemed like you guys kind of punched them in the mouth and they never really recovered. Could you notice that momentum really never left your side at all in the game?
Yeah, I noticed that. I wouldn't say I noticed that that much until probably the third quarter, maybe when Trevin got that pick or Nick had that big run. Those were kind of the 2 plays in my eyes that I started noticing them backing away a little bit.
Absolutely. And, well, let's talk about that sequence. So the Bobcats, they score. You guys respond with that touchdown. And then it felt to me like the nail in the coffin was the Trevin Gradney pick and then the Nick Osmo 64-yard touchdown. And then from there, the party was kind of on. So for you guys, just what was it like seeing those plays happen and just seeing you guys kind of add the exclamation point to a pretty dominant win?
Yeah, it was awesome. You know, Tommy, he was running back and scramble drill kind of, and looked back, and Trev picked it off, and I mean, we got the ball back, and then seeing Nick just out the gate, no safety, no nothing, right to the house, that was sweet. And you know, we're looking around, and we still got to play, but I mean, at that point, I don't know, it was 30-7, whatnot, and yeah, you're starting to think it's over.
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, we got a great shot of Braxton Hill, Mr. Cowboy himself, with the cowboy hat in the stands. I mean, that celebration afterwards with the trophy, you know, with the seniors. I mean, it had to just be just an unbelievable moment for you guys afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know what I was doing. I was riding high on my emotions, but no, the celebration. I mean, it was great. We got Coach Hauck with the water bucket or whatever, and then I mean the trophy and the Brawl trophy and the Big Sky trophy, and you know, Wild Grizz is going crazy. You can't even describe it.
Right.
I mean, it was great.
Absolutely. I mean, and what a win for you guys. And now you've set yourself up for the future as well. One of the talking points we talked about all week was, hey, the season doesn't end here. You guys have the postseason as well. You guys are officially the 2 seed going in the FCS playoffs with home field advantage. Just how does that sound to you, knowing that, you know, all roads run through Missoula to ultimately Frisco, if that's where you guys are able to get?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds great to me. But, you know, knowing that teams got to come into Missoula and play us on our home field, we take a lot of pride in playing at home. And ever since I've been a part of this program, the only games we've lost in playoffs have been on the road. I know that's been kind of the history around here as well. So just knowing that we have that seed and we have home playoff games, I mean, our team's just really excited.
This turnaround for you guys has been kind of the talking point, right, since the NAU game and the 7-game winning streak now to get the title. So your senior year, just to be doing this right now and just to kind of see all these goals being checked off, just how can you describe what the season's been like so far with a lot more to play as well?
Oh, it's been great. I mean, ever since that NAU loss, you know, the brotherhood in that locker room, we just kind of locked arms and did our jobs as individuals for one another. And I mean, the coaches, they worked our butts off, and we just really came together as a team, and we're playing good ball. And I couldn't be more excited to keep playing ball. So.
Well, that's Braxton Hill, Anaconda native and Big Sky champion for those back home. So Braxton, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And coming up, Riley will join me as we look to the FCS playoffs and the road coming up for Montana.
Take coverage of the Grizz with you. Download our app for your favorite mobile device today. Welcome back to Grizzly Insider, sponsored by Albertson Safeway.
And welcome back to the Grizz Insider. It is playoff time, Kyle, and finally we get to look at the bracket, take a peek at everything that is going to happen here in the next month or so. A lot of excitement, but first, let's talk about the draw for Montana being the number 2 seed. Who would have thought that we'd be saying this 2 months ago, but home field has to go through Washington Grizzly Stadium. That's a daunting task for any foe.
And that's huge, right? Because of the way they've played at home, but also you get into December, you might get some warm weather teams coming here. Just the way it plays out in home field advantage with a crowd like this, especially where there's fans, like you see at Montana State, Montana, North Dakota State, places like that. It's huge, and man, the Grizz couldn't have had a better turnaround, right? Especially, we're talking NAU a few months ago, and here we are.
And credit to everybody on the staff, the players, for absolutely turning this thing around. But now Montana, they've won 9 in a row at home, and it'll be fun for us to go through all of the playoff streaks that the Grizzlies have too. When we look at also the seeds, everybody was very curious, Kyle, and it's amazing going into the final week of the regular season. There's so much drama in the FCS, but a lot of teams lost in the final week. You talk about Furman and also with obviously Montana State. The seeding was jumbled a little bit when we take a look at the top 8 national, 3 coming out of the Big Sky, but just your take on the top 8.
It was interesting because 5 of the 8 are out west. So you have the other 3 Big Sky teams, as you mentioned, Montana, Montana State, Idaho getting the 4, getting the back door, getting back in through there, and then South Dakota and South Dakota State with obviously the Jackrabbits number 1. It's an interesting mix because you look at that seeding and obviously fans are going to look and see Montana and Montana State are on the same side of the bracket, could potentially meet in the semifinals, but boy, do the teams have difficult roads to that point. But it's some of the players we expected, I think, and it's cool to see Idaho did find a way to get back into it, and like we were talking about Montana, so it will be interesting to see. But then I was shocked that Furman dropped to 7. I really was, because they were the number 2 team in the country coming into this last weekend. Obviously they lost to Wofford, and I didn't expect them to drop to 7.
Absolutely, and especially you consider their quarterback has been out. Tanner Huff is their quarterback. He's had a shoulder injury. Expecting to be back for the playoffs. That is a potential opponent for Montana down the road. How about from the Big Sky Conference side of things? 3 of the 4 teams that did get in are on one side of the bracket, but my goodness, we were talking about it. Pretty puzzling. Sacramento State loses to UC Davis. They have the same record, yet Sac State gets in and UC Davis is left at home.
It's wild. I mean, and credit to the Hornets, they got in, and obviously that's out of their control, but it is a little weird. And then you look at that matchup for the Bobcats. They might be playing North Dakota State in that second round in Bozeman, which is big for them, but I don't know if anybody wants to play North Dakota State, even if it is a down year, you know what I mean? And then obviously from the Grizz perspective, they're going to get the winner of Lafayette and Delaware, and they saw Delaware the year I was born in 1993. And so just, you know a little bit about these guys. Why don't you tell us about them?
Absolutely. Wild game that happened back in 1993 too, but you look at it, Lafayette is a team that they won the Patriot League this year, and everyone was talking about Holy Cross, supposed to be that team. They were ranked top 5. Well, Lafayette was the squad that beat them. High-flying offense, could be really fun coming in here. Then you play the old weather aspect of it, and then Delaware was in line for a seed, Kyle. You would have to say, if you were seeding this thing past the top 8, North Dakota State was probably number 9, and I would say Delaware was probably number 10. So it is a tougher draw out of the gates for Montana with 2 teams that have had success here this season, but it's going to be fun. And again, like we talked about, under the lights, 7 o'clock kickoff on December 2nd. Should be fun. Night
games of Washington Grizzly. I know we've beaten that like a dead horse, but man, oh man, what a great atmosphere. And just this is the time of the year we've been waiting for.
Well, it's going to be a fun ride. It's not done anytime soon for the Grizz, and we'll wrap up the Grizz Insider next.
There's more coverage of the Grizzlies online anytime at montanasports.com. Welcome back to Grizzly Insider, sponsored by Albertson Safeway.
And welcome back to the Grizz Insider. And the Grizzlies won the Big Sky Conference Championship, but on the week of Thanksgiving and Riley Corcoran's birthday week, they got him a week off. How about that?
You know what, Kyle? It's great. It was the birthday wish that I was hoping for. We all need a week off after the emotional week that it was with the rivalry. So, yes, it'll be a fun week to celebrate a little bit and enjoy the week off. But I'm telling you what, after that, it's going to be a fun ride here in the month of December because I think Montana's been chasing this for a while, getting those coveted home field games. And the path comes through Missoula, Kyle. Not only one game, there's the potential for 3 home games here on a path to Frisco, Texas.
And we remember those runs in the early 2000s when the road ran through here in Missoula, how special those atmospheres were. And we could be seen again. We'll have to see how it all plays out. But thank you so much for joining us for this week's edition of the Grizz Insider. Have a great weekend.